Welcome back to a brand new season of Rip It Up. Every renovation teaches you something, but it's only after you've lived through the dust, the delays and the decisions, and then done it again like me, that the real lessons appear. This season, we're revisiting our biggest renovation topics, not with theory, not with optimism, but with hindsight. Process, planning, lighting, kitchens, bathroom, windows, what worked, what didn't, and what we'd never do the same way again. This is What We Wish We Knew Then.
Welcome back to the podcast. Hi, Kate.
Hi, Jen.
We're coming towards the end of this new series that we're running, What We Wish We Knew Then, with all the added benefits of your new renovation, more experience and hindsight. And
making the mistakes for you guys.
Yeah, you are welcome. Everything we've touched on so far, I feel, has been quite technical and renovation focused. And we're going a little bit into the design aspect of things now. We're still going to keep it more technical, would you say? Because design,
I think so, because design is visual. Like it's hard to do this on a podcast. So rather than being like, look at this color, look at this floor, it's more about the technicalities of not making big mistakes, I guess.
Yeah. It's an art, right? Some people have the eye, some people maybe don't have the eye, but I really think it can be learned. It's like playing the piano or learning an instrument. Like some people might take to it and be amazing at it and go on to play in an orchestra, but you can still learn it. Like there's rules of thumb that you can learn. And I think a really good thing to do is almost as we go through this podcast, as you are listening to it, is to maybe look around your own home or think about your own home or look through magazines or some of the things that you've saved maybe on Pinterest that you've liked and see if you can see what we're talking about. And it's a good way to learn because you can I like that look because of symmetry or because the proportion is right and I can see what good looks like, and you really can learn.
Why does a room look good? Like you can't sometimes put your finger on it, but it's usually from a technical standpoint, it looks right and it's put together correctly.
Yeah, exactly. Like interior designers go to college for a reason, and there's a lot more to it than this, but these are just some good guidelines. Okay, so will we start off by saying, if anyone is watching on YouTube, we're both holding up our number one favourite book, which is the Interior Design Handbook by Frida Ramstedt. It is just the Bible for what would you say, the basics? It covers so much in such a small book.
It really breaks down all the aspects of kind of interior design now. It's a black and white book and there's no colour pages at all.
No, there isn't.
So, it's all just black and white illustrations. Mm-hmm. So that'll tell you how less designy it is and more technical. But like we were kind of just saying, it's those little tips and tricks and getting heights right and sizes right and spacings right and all that kind of stuff that should make a room feel put together correctly. Yeah.
Okay, so if you're listening and you're about to renovate or redecorate, that's a great one to get. So we'll start off with there's around 7 design principles. Somebody might say there's 5, somebody might say there's 8, whatever, but there are 7 that we kind of tend to stick to. So these are good rules of thumb. First one you mentioned kind of earlier, proportion and scale is very important to get right. So if you're looking at a room and it feels right, generally it's because the items in that room are proportionate to the size of the room and to each other. Is that fair enough to say?
That's very fair. And it's something that I come across a lot where people are like, oh, my room is quite small, so I'm looking for like a small sofa or a small table, and having a load of small bits in a room that's already small just makes it feel a bit piecemealy to me.
Yeah.
What I find the challenge with things like small rooms and small spaces are ones with nooks, like my house has now, a lot of different nooks. You kind of have to go somewhat custom on some of that stuff. And then when you size things correctly and fill the space, it actually makes the room feel way bigger.
Totally agree. Custom makes such a big, especially if the space is awkward, there's any curves or it's not a straight wall. But you're right. And I'm looking at a very small room here, and the temptation is to just shrink the furniture in response to the room, but you still want to fill the space you have, just have fewer pieces.
More streamlined.
Yeah, rather than more small pieces. Okay, that's scale and proportion. On balance, this is really important because symmetry is a very important concept, I guess, in design, in beauty, in visual appeal, but it doesn't necessarily mean the exact same things on both sides of the room. There's a few different types of symmetry. You can have, you can have the kind of perfect, 2 matching armchairs on either side of a fireplace, for example. Very symmetrical.
2 candlesticks and 2 bookends or whatever, but it's definitely more formal, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. You can also then have very purposeful asymmetry where you have things weighted on one side, and then you know, two candlesticks of varying height or three at the end of one bookshelf, and then maybe dropping down to a low height of something like a little object or something like that at the other end of it.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
the
I
other,
always remember Lawrence Llewellyn-Bone used to always say, like, everything has to be symmetrical, but that was his style, right? That was that very
Yeah.
formal, like, Victorian kind of style or whatever. But I think we've moved away a lot from that, I think, unless you really, really want that kind of formal good room. But I think people want a bit more relaxed feel, but
Yeah.
it still requires a little bit of tweaking. I must have moved the armchair and the kind of two nested tables before my photo shoot 100 times.
Yeah.
Like slight tweaks this way and that way. And like you said, it's about balancing. Imagine like a scales. Like
Yes.
one side of the room versus the other side of the room should have kind of equal amounts of things
Yes.
or overall weight of things, but not the same.
yeah, like the overall outline, let's say, of the objects that you have there should fill roughly the same space. So that might be a couch on one side and two armchairs, or two chairs and a little table, or something like that on the other side. But yeah, I love that concept of scales.
Yeah.
The balance in there. And then the last type is radial, which really means that, there's repeating patterns around a central object, which is typically a dining table.
Yeah.
And not much else, maybe a bedroom or something like that.
Unless you have one of those huge rooms where you have this big, I don't know, focal corner group sofa or sunken, like...
Sunken, I was going to
like that.
say, what did they call it? There's something doing the rounds on Instagram and it was like the groove area or something like that. It's like what in the 70s, what they called those sunken living rooms. Couldn't love it more. I absolutely adore them.
Yeah.
So yeah, balance, really important. Another thing, I think this one is so huge, the third one, is unity. And that really means repeating the same background elements throughout your house. So this is handles on your doors. This is the colour of your finishes, of your hardware. Maybe even like flooring, maybe, for example, like trims, your architrave, your skirting board, try to keep that similar throughout your house. That really makes a huge, huge, huge difference.
Yeah, and I think like a lot of people are nervous if they buy a tap from one brand and maybe, I don't know, their hardware and switches or something outside is a different brand, so it's hard to get it to match exactly.
Yeah.
And in that instance, I always say like natural materials are neutral in my mind.
Yeah, definitely.
Like if you have a fake brass finish or a fake gold finish and a fake copper finish, yes, they're going to clash in the same room. But if you have a real brass doorknob and you decide to go for, I don't know, polished nickel on your taps or something, that's not going to clash because they're both kind of natural, not fake versions of each other. So I think they still work.
Yeah, agreed. They are neutral. And I think as well, because you're not going to get the same brand of like taps and light switches, but you can definitely do the same style. So like if your overall style is, curved and very smooth lines, then keep that throughout in whatever else you're getting. But if your overall style is very
traditional
bold,
and whimsical.
Yeah. Keep that first. I think that's really important.
Yeah. And I think the same goes for things like finishes when it comes to floors and wood flooring and stuff. People are kind of worried about those clashing. Again, ideally you don't want them so close that looks like you're trying to make a match and they're clashing. So I'd make them far enough apart that there's a good distinction between them that people don't think you're trying to match them.
Yeah. Because that just looks weird. It's like that uncanny valley thing. Your eye just picks up on the difference and it's kind of uncomfortable. Yeah, that's a great one. Okay, next one I love, especially for, say, shelf styling. This is really important, and this is why people who have these amazing just finishes in their house make it look so good, and that's having rhythm. And it can be, there's something very basic about just putting 3 items together, or 5. But I actually got this tip from a personal shopper one time. I hate shopping, and I did this personal shopping thing, and it was brilliant. And she was kind of teaching me how to accessorize, and she's like, if you're bringing in a color, bring it in 3 times. So if it's shoes, repeat it somewhere maybe in the belt and repeat it in your hair tie or something like that, or your lipstick or your nail varnish. So I have, like, my couch in my living room is this very bold turmeric color, and then I have the same color cushions over in my dining area, and then I have the same color lamp over the dining area too. Our brains just like 3s.
I have a few black kind of accents, I would say, in my kitchen. And I think the tying piece for me was when I got black kitchen stools recently. I just felt like immediately when I put those kitchen stools on, I was like, oh, it grounded everything. Like
Yeah.
it picked up on the other black
Yeah.
ones I had that they weren't floating. So I have a big black like plant pot on one of the shelves dressed, so that kind of draws your eye over there. And then now I have the black stools, and some of the wall lights have black fittings on the way from the hallway into my kitchen, so your eye just picks up those, you know, little black elements or whatever color it is and just goes, oh, I saw that there, and it just feels cohesive even though they're not the same thing.
Yeah, 100%. And it works for color. It also works for maybe shape. So if you're bringing a pattern into your house, like if you have paneling, for example, on a wall, or I don't know, brickwork somewhere or something like that, it's nice to repeat it. It's nice to bring it through somewhere else. Or you had it, you remember your kitchen countertop, you had that some of the leftover material made into a hallway table.
Yes,
a shelf.
yeah, a little shelf, yeah.
Our brains love that, a bit of repetition, and same goes for texture as well. And I also think it really works for grouping items together. So if you have, back to say candlesticks, 3 of them together looks great, or 3 objects on a shelf together of different heights looks great. Don't know why it is, but our brains love 3.
I bought 3 island stools, and my husband's like, but why did you not buy 4? And I was like, I don't know, it just it isn't sitting right with me.
Yeah.
But like, I'm looking at it now, and the island can definitely take a 4th because they're quite tidy, the stools. But like, I'm like, I just want 3 of them. Can I hide one somewhere for when we need it?
It just feels so much nicer. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it does.
Strange.
It does, yeah.
Okay, next one is it's on a focal point. So this is a really helpful one when you're starting out your design or you're totally redecorating a room. It's very hard to know where to start. It's very hard to know what you get first. And the idea, it doesn't really matter where you start, but you have to start somewhere, which is kind of unhelpful. But my point being, what is the focal point of that room? What is the main anchor of that room? Is it an incredible window with a view? Is it a really dramatic piece of furniture? Is it like art, like really stunning, striking art? Is it like a bold, massive fireplace? Like, what is the one thing that is the main anchor or focal point in that room? And then you work around from that, and everything else needs to complement that.
And that's what I find with like Victorian and kind of old period properties. Sometimes they do have those focal points. So sometimes I think you can kind of make them too fussy by bringing in loads of different colours or patterns or whatever. And like the cornicing and the ceiling roses sometimes speak for themselves. Or like you said, a big marble fireplace that might be in your front room, or the beautiful bay window, you know, like make a big focal point of that. And if that's the focal point, you know, put your money into window dressings to really frame it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, as long as you don't have too many things vying for the attention.
Yeah, that's it. It's attention, because otherwise you're looking around and you're like, where do I land, or what do I kind of latch onto? And it just really helps you design everything else, because you're like, does it feed into that? Does it support that? Does it go with that? And then you're not getting competing materials. Okay.
Agree.
Number 6 is like one of the best tips ever, and we've talked about it a lot, and it's contrast. And this could be color, this could be especially texture, I think. And it's the concept of contrasting materials, and that's it. And it just works so well. Like, it really can completely change the feel of a room, even if you don't change any of the actual items. Like, you just change the
or it could be all the same color. Like, it could be completely all the same color and all different textures and varying fabrics and finishes of that same color group, and still be a really interesting room, I think.
100%. Especially now, kind of in the age of neutrals, I think that's why people love that so much, because if you do look at a room that's fully neutral, it's still so interesting, because you've got different textured floors, like contrasted with, maybe you've got rough contrasted with smooth, and like thick contrasted with very sleek.
Shaggy rugs and like linens, and then you might have somebody. I agree. Love that.
It's such a winner. Okay, finally, and then number 7 is the devil is in the details. It is so important to get the last details right. And like, I know if you're listening to this and you're coming towards the end of a renovation and you're drowning in decisions, we will get to that in a second, but it is important that the small details, like the little finishes of things, they matter so much.
They do. And I actually think that having a really well finished and tidy house is as important as having, a house that looks nice in terms of colour and items that are in there and the finishes on the floor. I think if you make the most of a place by being tidy and organized and having things looking and presented in a really nice way, I think it's half the battle.
Yeah, and it is just those small little accessories, like those small things that you can be used to bring in the other kind of guidelines or principles that we talked about before, like can bring in that unity, can bring in that rhythm, that repetition. Details can really, really do that, so it's really important.
Yeah. But unfortunately, sometimes those details are expensive when it comes to like sockets and switches and all that. But
and hard to get right.
I think those hardware things are a good investment piece. It's not impossible, but it's trickier to change them out after the fact. So I think I'd kind of almost include them as one of the fixed kind of core items when you're doing your renovation.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, and that's it. So those are the 7. They are super helpful. And as I said, it makes sense to just look at rooms that you really like and see what you can spot in there, and that you can learn then why rooms that you like work. Yeah. It can be learned. Okay, we're going to touch on colour next, because there's just so many, like, I mean, how many shades of paint are there? 5 billion? Gazillion?
Yeah.
Just white.
And like, so that's something that people ask me a lot, what paint is in this room? And I always reply and I tell people what it is, but I'm also like, it doesn't matter, because my room is not your room. Yeah. It's going to have different light. It's going to be like, it's also photographed differently, right? So it's picking up different on my camera versus it is in real life or whatever, or on your phone versus my phone, depending on if you have like a nighttime filter and you're looking at a red screen at nighttime or something. Like, so I think looking at colours and stuff online and on other people's houses is somewhat irrelevant.
Yeah, you have to understand the light that's coming into your room.
Yeah.
And that's really it. Like what else it's going with. Like, how's it matching up to the floor? How's it matching up to the window trims? Like all that kind of stuff.
And you can say you like a family of colours. Say you see a room and you're like, I love that this room is all red and terracotta. Then you're looking at those kind of colours. But if you're looking at like beiges, you need to just sample a million in your space and then find the ones with the undertones that suit your light. Yeah.
And then there are good rules of thumb for marrying colours together, right? So there is, like, every designer will start off using the colour wheel. If you Google it, you'll find it. And what that does is structure different colours and different tones together so that you know what pairing colours together will mean, what kind of output or result that will have. So you have like colours that are very opposite each other, called complementary. They always go together, like mustard and navy, classic. They always work together. I'm just looking at that on my own couch. You can get kind of contrasting colours that work really, really well together. You can go in like rules of 3s and they group well together. So it's something to look into yourself. And then staying in the same, what would you call it? Like tone? Is that the right word? So that you don't have like a pastel with like a rich jewel colour somewhere else. It's kind of better to stay in the same family.
Kind of level of shades,
Yeah, level of shades, exactly.
Yeah, because I think sometimes if you go like, one room is that real jewel kind of toned bright colour, and then somewhere else is really earthy, that doesn't work for me. So one is a real maximalist interior and one might be a real earthy kind of minimalist or whatever. So I just think it's important to kind of put them all together, even if you screenshot them and put them all on one slide or whatever on your phone screen on a story and screenshot it or something like that, just to put them all together and see what it does when they're layered on top of each other. Because I think if they look nice together there, they'll probably look nice together in your house. But again, light is king here when you're looking at paints.
So like my example is like the colours in my house are very saturated, rich, slightly like quite deep colours. And every Easter I love getting like tulips or just kind of Easter style flowers, but that's a very pastel colour palette and it just does not go in my house. It just doesn't work. It just does not, like they don't work well together.
You had sunflowers last week and they look lovely.
Sunflowers are perfect. They're still going actually. Yeah, they really lasted. Actually, I got a present of tulips the other day and they're really rich colour tulips, like a deep red and a deep purple and yellow. They're working fabulously, but usually those kind of pastel colours don't match. So those are rules of thumb there, I think, on colour. And also, sorry, a last word on colour as a rule of thumb, colour drenching, I think is just like, it's everywhere at the moment. And I think we have to think of it as here to stay. It's not a trend. It just works. I love it.
Yeah. And I also think like when you're looking at paints and looking at paint colours, I do think some of the Irish/British brands will perform better. I think they're
Yeah.
designed for the kind of light and maybe a slightly more grey climate. There's a range with Dulux called Dulux Signature, and it does kind of like those tonal shades of each shade in kind of a mid or light, mid, dark or something like that.
Yeah.
That's a lovely way to step colour through your house, and I think they're
Yeah.
really well designed for like Irish light.
Yeah.
So that might be worth a look as well.
So
when you're kind
Dulux
of
are great.
shopping.
Fleetwood having made the Privilege range is unreal. A whole bunch of new colours out at the moment. They're fab. We love Farley and Co.
Yeah, they have
I
some
like Colour
fab
Trend.
colours.
Actually, our example we always use is that like all my walls are painted in Colour Trend Subtle, and you had that on your walls and they look completely different, like in a different house. So
Yeah,
it's just
and again, like it's all down to light, right? Like it's
Yeah.
all down to light and what undertones you see in that paint. Somewhat for me, it was
Yeah.
just a bit too purple in the light that I had in my house. But then I see other paint look so amazing in some people's houses.
Yeah.
If you have a lot of light and you like deep colours, remember that those colour paints are going to look much more washed out in a really bright
Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
So you might need to go a bit deeper if you want that kind of rich
Yeah.
colour.
Yeah. Okay, and next one to touch on as kind of a concept that is often wrong, I think, or people often get wrong, and it's not hard to get right, we'll tell you, is around layout. So just like every room, as you're approaching every room, Google it or get that interior design handbook, because there's measurements in there, and there's things like how much space should be between items, and it really matters, because I really think a lot of the times when rooms just don't feel right or feel a bit empty
Yeah,
or cluttered, it's because things are just shoved too close together, or like they're not, or space too far apart as well, and it just feels a bit strange, do you know?
Yeah, we always talk about rugs like being too small in a space. I also can say I'm not a massive fan of it going like all the way under all the furniture, because I love seeing my floor as well. So
Yeah.
there's like, you can go under the front legs and it still look right, but it depends on the house. Like if you have
Yeah.
these old floorboards and they're a bit wrecked, but you still like a little peek of them here and there, maybe you might go massive on the rug. But if
Yeah.
you want a bit more, or some people don't want to put rugs down that are too big if they have underfloor, because they feel like it
Yeah.
might be blocking a bit of that heat.
Yeah.
But I think, just laying it out right and having the right circulation space and stuff like that. And that's especially important, I think, in kitchens and kitchen layout, that you're
Yeah.
not coming in from your hall up against an island, or the
Yeah.
stools are on that side of the island, so it always looks a bit messy. You know, just designing the flow and the layout and how you walk through spaces better.
It's
I had
so
a client
important.
I had a client recently, and we were talking about an extension she was doing at the back, and she wanted a kind of a lounge, a dining and the kitchen space all in one kind of area, and she wanted to push the living to the centre, because she was worried that the kitchen wouldn't get enough light if it was in the centre. But I was kind of saying, you've like 3 or 4 small kids, and you're talking about the kids wanting somewhere for their toys. I said, what you're going to come into then is the couch with a load of toys around it.
Yeah.
That's going to be what you see on entry. So like, I mean, tuck that away. That
Yeah.
has to be in the far kind of corner.
Yeah.
Obviously every plan is slightly different, but just walk your own through when you're talking about layout, because those mistakes
Yeah.
can really
Like
change.
if you're listening and you have floor plans, for example, that you're looking at, that your architect might have done or somebody might have done, it's so helpful just to, like with a pencil, just draw through like what's the line from like the door or the entry point to that room, over to the couch, over to the hob, over to the fridge, over to the bed. You know, like, do you have to work your way around something to get there? And if you do, it's not going to work. It's going to be annoying to live in.
Yeah, and another kind of, you mentioned, I think, like artwork is mirrors and stuff before, that it should be kind of at eye level, so you're seeing
Yeah.
it when you come into a space, that it's not really high, or if you're really tall people, maybe put it slightly higher, but if you're normal, you know, like you might put it
Yeah.
at 150. But think about that, think about wall lights if you're doing it, that your
Yeah.
electrician is maybe installing them all at the same height everywhere.
Yeah.
That those kind of little tweaks of heights and spacing and things like that they're all kind of thought out, I think, can make a
Yeah.
big difference.
And another thing on artwork, there is a great rule of thumb that if you're putting up a piece or a number of pieces, kind of grouping them, gallery, whatever, they should take up about 60 to 70% of the available space. So if you're putting them on one wall and they're going above a couch or something like that, the available space there, make sure you're filling it. And that is all to say that usually what you're hanging is too small, I think. Usually what people hang is too small.
Yeah.
You need to go bigger.
Unfortunately,
than you think.
really expensive artwork is really expensive, or really huge artwork's really expensive.
But what I've seen people do, and I love this, is either like paint a block around an item, for example, so that the the surround is the right size, or frame something bigger than it actually is. Because if you have a piece of art that you really love, you know, you can put it on a backing and then get a nice frame for it that is bigger, you know, that will bring it up to the right size.
One of our guests, Tanya Neufeld Flanagan, she has an amazing wall hanging, like a tapestry behind her dining table, which I think is an amazing. And Etsy have some really cool wall hangings if you have a big space to fill, but you don't have big deep pockets to be buying like really expensive artwork. I think that's a really cool idea as well. And Rebecca Wakefield, one of my favorite designers ever, she had up on her stories the other day that she framed tea towels, but like a tea towel that had a cool print on it.
Yeah.
So it was a fabric print, so she got it framed and it looked so cool because
That's
like
so cool.
tea towels when they're folded out and pressed are big enough, like, and when you put that in a frame, it gave you a nice big piece of artwork for actually pretty cheap.
Yeah. And also mirrors are great if you're afraid to buy art. Or like I saw lovely stained glass pieces before. Now they're also very expensive. Or one that Roisin Lafferty always says is photography. Get a really nice piece of photography and hang that, because that can be less intimidating maybe than looking for really nice artwork if you're just not into it. Oh, another quick one just before we move away from this subject is curtains. I think curtains can really, it's easy to make mistakes with curtains because you feel like you hang them, you know, a bit above the window and a bit outside the window. Don't do that. Hang it as high as you can and make sure that they go all the way to the floor, and brush the floor or even pull a tiny bit. That is the way to go there.
Agreed. Don't have them too short.
Yeah. Okay, a very quick one nearly finally on mood boards and putting things together. There's a rule of thumb that we absolutely love, which is Kate Watson-Smith. She's got an amazing blog called Mad About the House, amongst many other things. And her rule of thumb is something new, something old, something black, and something gold. And I think it's such a handy way to sit and just look at a room and be like, you don't have to take it super literally, but something new and something old, is there like a bit of a mix of styles, like a couple of antique or vintage pieces mixed with some kind of modern things? That can look great. Something black, I think just something dark for contrast, just to bring in a bit of, you know, interest, visual interest. And something gold, I take that to mean like a metallic accent, or a reflective even accent around.
Could be a cool light fitting as well, or something, you know, something like that. Something with a bit of sparkle or a bit of focal point maybe.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I go back to that again and again. It's just easy to remember. It's nice.
It's a great one to remember. Mood boards, how do you do your mood boards? Do you do them on?
I usually use Google Slides for the most part. I'll pin stuff first on Pinterest and then bring them across and do them on Google Slides for people. I find that the kind of easiest way. Like, I mean, if you're not messing on your laptop a lot and you want to just do it on your phone, screenshot them, crop them, and put them all into an Instagram story, and then you can download the Instagram story as an image.
Yeah, you don't have to post it. It's a handy way to layer lots of things together.
It's a great way of layering, like, you know, and you can put the layers up and down now on Pinterest or Instagram stories by pressing and holding it, which is a great easy way of kind of putting it all together.
Or a Canva. If you don't mind downloading an extra app, Canva's unreal for doing that as well. So handy. It's not that hard. There's a bit of a learning curve with it, but if you think you're going to be with it for a while, then definitely go for it. I will say, I do think physical samples, like once you kind of decided on certain things, get physical samples of them and bring them everywhere. Like have a bag with you and bring it everywhere. A tile, a floorboard, your paint sample, your fabric from your couch, like everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Agree.
And then a final note on something you've kind of started doing in your new
Well,
house.
I've no choice. Like, you use all your money in a renovation. And I think, I'm sorry, but 80-90% of people are probably in this boat where toward the end of a renovation, like you're fairly strapped. Like you're trying to finish stuff, there's unforeseens. And I am a big fan of just slow interiors. Take your time with it. I didn't buy everything. You know, I got bits on adverts to tide me over until I really decided what I was doing with the room. And just like layer it, take time. And, you know, you might buy one big item like a big sofa or something like that. But then we had no media unit for a while. I had a €50 adverts thing for a while until we found the right one for our space. So just like taking the time to find the right things. I had no stools for almost almost a year. I had 2 adverts, ones that I got for a tenner and sat back. Like, so I was searching the whole time, but just until I found something that's right, I just think take your time. Obviously you can't take your time when it comes to a mattress or a couch because you might need those pretty quickly, but I think most other things can wait.
Yeah. And it's like you can waste so much money just kind of panic buying the wrong thing and then you're stuck with it and it's so annoying. So there's no deadline. It's grand. If someone comes over to your house, you're like, we're still in the middle of doing it up, looking for this, looking for that. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Unless you have
haven't put
cameras
up your
coming into your
pictures.
house.
If you haven't even put up your pictures and stuff, just stack them and lean them nicely against the wall. They still dress the place. It still looks kind of nice. You know, you don't have to have your gallery wall done and everything. Just take your time and chill with it. And I think when you do it a bit slower, you'll be much happier with the outcome anyway.
Yeah, because you need to get to know the space and how the light works there and how you're living there and what you want, what goes better where. Sometimes you just have to let your brain kind of work on things in the background, and then
and
answer
this
will
is
come.
why I say sometimes the option is painting your whole house a kind of a base neutral colour drench it, and then when you have the headspace down the line, maybe you might paint the walls a colour or a different colour or something. But I definitely kind of employ that during a renovation because I just want to see what the light is like. I want to see how I'm going to use a room before I decide to really commit on a deep colour or a bright colour or something.
Yeah, slow interiors, don't panic.
I still don't have a wardrobe. Well, I have the Elfa open wardrobe. But
that was the best thing ever. That with you. Yeah. Temporary fixes. Okay, hopefully that was helpful, and we will see you next week.
Yeah, see you next week. Bye.
If you found this episode helpful, please hit subscribe, give us a few stars, and best of all, send it to someone else who you think would like it so they can subscribe too. Thank you.